Okay, interview number 7 for Rise Above with
Lory Spencer, aka Sheevil Knievel.
Awesome. What is your history with motorcycles?
Well, I was bitten by the motorcycle bug when I was about 7 or 8 years old. I borrowed a neighbor boy's Mustang mini bike, and the rest is history.
Great.
I've been riding ever since.
What bike are you currently riding?
Right now I am riding my 1971 Triumph Bonneville Tiger Hybrid named Puddles. And I've had her since 1998. I sold her and got her back. So we've just been reunited.
Nice. And you said you're in the middle of rebuilding it?
Oh, she's already rebuilt.
Oh,
She's good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. How many accidents have you been in, and talk about the most serious ones?
I kind of lost count of the accidents. The first one that I remember was back in the 80s, and I broke my left kneecap. I shattered it, broke my cheekbone and my nose, and tore some ligaments in my hand. But the most serious one was probably back in 95, where I was run off the road when I was riding my Norton and by a car full of teenagers, and I had nowhere to go but either a bus stop full of people or a bank of newspaper boxes, and I chose the newspaper boxes at the very last second, jumped the curb, demolished the newspaper boxes with my bike, which cartwheeled into a cyclone fence, and I was thrown headfirst into a cement hole. I did have a helmet on, but I sustained a traumatic brain injury and I fractured my neck, and I've still got some bulging discs in my neck from that.
Wow.
Yeah, that was fun.
So that's the extreme one. I guess you said you've stopped counting the accidents. Can you give me a list of injuries that you've accrued over the years?
Oh, goodness.
I mean, because it looks like with the pictures I've seen, you have quite a few.
Yeah, well, to top it off, I'm clumsy, and I used to do roller derby, so I've got a few injuries from that, so I won't count those. But countless broken fingers and toes. I think anybody that rides has broken their fingers and toes. I miraculously have never broken a collarbone, and I don't know how that's happened, but I've broken most of my ribs on the left side, front and back, sternum, left kneecap was shattered, my neck, multiple concussions, which explains a lot, both wrists, my elbow, my tailbone, my nose, my cheekbone. I think that's it, but I'm probably forgetting some. Oh, my elbow, I think.
You did say elbow, yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the traumatic brain injury, is I have short memory loss.
There we go. I guess so. For this neck injury accident, what was the hardest part about recovery?
Well, not being able to ride. I was having a lot of memory issues. I would fall asleep or pass out or just trail off in the middle of a conversation. And my Norton suffered some mechanical injuries, and I was very concerned about that. But some friends put her together while I was recovering. She had bent the front forks and the bars and shattered the headlight and destroyed the headlight bucket. But nothing too horrible. Oh, bent the rim on the front tire. She was still running while she was upside down, I guess. When I was unconscious, my friend rode around and came and turned her off and flipped her over, and I went in the ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess I told them my name was Robert when I was unconscious. I don't remember any of that.
That's funny.
So not being able to ride, I think.
Yeah. How long were you away from riding?
For that accident? Probably less than a month.
Okay.
Because it was my only transportation, so I rode my motorcycle everywhere. Yeah.
With a broken neck, or did you?
Here's the interesting part: they didn't know I had a broken neck because they neglected to do a CT scan on me at the emergency room. So I was riding around with a broken neck and I didn't know it.
Wow.
And I found that out later when I kept getting bad headaches and went in for my neck pain. And they said, "When did you break your neck?" And I said, "I didn't." And they said, "Yes, you did." So it was a compression fracture. Nothing was displaced. So I didn't have to wear a halo or anything. But if I
just a helmet.
Yes, if they had known that I had broken my neck, probably. If my mom hears this, Mom, I didn't break my neck. I'm lying. I'm making it up. I never rode a motorcycle in my life. She hates that I ride.
Well, with that said, do your friends and family support you riding?
All my friends do, and my family does not. I think my dad passed away, but before then, he never really complained too much about it, but my mom did and does. And
Terrified.
They didn't know that I rode for 20 years after I started, and that's because I broke my leg. But my mom's still not a fan of it. I'm 54 years old, and she still doesn't dig it at all.
She's still your mom.
She's still my mom.
Yeah, it took me quite a few months to actually tell my parents when I had my first accident. I was a little worried.
Yep.
So, were you scared to get back on a bike after your accident? Well, you said you had only not ridden for like a month, so.
Yeah, probably 3 weeks. And most of that was because my bike was being fixed. I mean, I wanted to get on sooner, but my friends were like, no, you're not quite ready yet. Then, back in the 80s and 90s, I was a lot more fearless than I am now, and I never thought twice about getting back on. It was just automatic. In fact, when I broke my leg, I had a cylinder cast from my crotch to my ankle, and I tried to figure out a way to ride that way, but I couldn't. So I did ride with a cast on my arm. I modified the cast by bringing a motorcycle grip into the doctor's office with me when they put the cast on, and when he wasn't looking, I put the grip
inside
in there and molded it around there so I could ride like that.
That's brilliant.
Well, I don't know about
you said
that.
your surgeon didn't really like that, though, right?
That's how I got the name Sheeple Knievel. Yeah, he gave it to me.
What gear were you wearing when you had your accident, and what gear do you wear now?
When my very first accident where I broke something in my leg, I wasn't wearing a helmet, and that was back, like I said, in the 80s, and it wasn't my intention. It's just that I was caught without a helmet, and there was no helmet law back then. So that's how I broke my cheek and my nose, my leg, and everything.
Right.
But on the Norton, I was in full gear. I wore full face helmet, gloves, boots, leather jacket with armor, and leather pants with armor.
Right.
And I still managed to get injured. But that was a compression, because I hit my head like that and went into the pole. But the rest of my body was protected fully.
Right. But now you're wearing, you're an advocate for wearing full gear.
Even if it's just up the street, you've got to protect yourself. It's not worth it.
Yeah. Do you feel like a stronger rider and person since the accident?
I think I'm a more careful rider. Over the years since then, I've developed a healthy respect for speed and the fact that there's more cars on the road now than there was back then, and there's lots of teenagers on cell phones and texting, so I'm hyper aware now, and almost to the point where I'm clenching my butt cheeks a lot of the time around town.
Right.
So it's given me a really healthy respect for how lucky I was.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then last question, what has changed about the way you ride?
Well, I sort of like what I just said as far as being hyper aware and very cautious. I always wear gear. I can't stress that enough. A motorcycle is not a fashion accessory. I can't state that more firmly. It's super important to be aware of your surroundings, and it's easy to get carried away and get into the moment on a motorcycle. That's kind of what they're for. But it's so important to have at least part of your brain focused on where you're going and who is around you. That's the most, important thing, is who's around you and what are they doing or what are they not doing. Make sure you're seen.
Well, I guess I would ask maybe one more question, since I don't have that many women in the show. But as far as being a woman and riding a motorcycle, do you think that more women should ride, or?
I think it's an individual thing, and I
Yeah.
don't think gender plays a role in it.
Yeah.
I think if you want to ride, you should be able to ride.
I think that's cool.
If you're a woman, fine. I don't make a separation between gender. You don't operate a motorcycle with your genitalia.
Sure.
I mean, that's one of my favorite things to say, because a woman rides doesn't make her special. If you ride, that makes you special. That's my philosophy, and is.
No, that's good, because I think there's a lot of, there's still some weird separation there for people. Like, there's like, oh, there's a woman that's riding a motorcycle, and that's somehow different than, oh, there's a guy riding a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just because you see less women riding, and I'm not sure if that's true for Portland or in general, but it kind of makes it's interesting to me, because I only have 2 women in my show, so
Right. Well,
a lot of women haven't really come forward to want to participate, and so I'm wondering.
Well, there's a lot of newer riders and newer women riders in Portland that I can see, so you're not going to find a whole lot of scars and
Yeah.
that. And I also think that a lot of people are women that are younger and everything, and they haven't been thrown to the ground and earned their scars. I don't mean that in a negative way.
Sure.
This is like, I thought I was invincible until I hit the ground real hard.
Yeah.
It's a learning process, but again, it shouldn't be gender specific. Of course, there's going to be more men involved, because there's more men involved in just about anything.
Right.
And women are getting into that. I don't know if they're getting into it because it looks exciting to them, and women aren't as held back as maybe they were before. But women have been riding since there's been motorcycles.
Sure.
And I've been riding since the 60s, and to me it's like nothing new. So when I
Right.
hear that, oh, she's a chick that rides, I'm like, so?
Yeah.
And? Yeah, most of my female friends ride.
Cool.
I like to talk about motorcycles. I don't like to talk about nail polish or hairdos or things like that. So most women find me terribly boring to be around.
But most guys do not.
Well, I don't know about that either, but I like to talk bikes.
Cool.
I do.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
All right.